Greetings and welcome to all of our students, our staff members, our off-campus members, partners, repeat visitors, and to our new guests to our UWIHARP SHAZ podcast series. This is our Sexual Health Awareness Zone podcast. My name is Keelia Anderson, the project assistant here with UWIHARP, and I will be your moderator for this afternoon's podcast. UWIHARP is the HIV and Sexual Health Unit here at the University of the West Indies KFL campus. And we seek to positively influence the sexual and reproductive health and wellness of the university population, and by extension, the wider Caribbean society. Our primary focus is the development of sexual health literacy among the community through programs such as these. Today, we will be discussing womb literacy and highlighting the benefits of womb wellness in addressing past and present gynecological complications, and we will seek to identify techniques for achieving womb wellness. Today, we have our very well-educated and versed person. Her name is Miss Katrina Ifill. She is experienced in this field, and this evening and today she will be engaging in a conversation with me to just give us some insight of really what womb wellness is, how can we as women get to that place of wholeness and wellness through this process, and how we can get ourselves in a position to really move forward after we've gone through these processes. So just a bit about Katrina. She is a communications specialist, a sensual empowerment leader, and the creators of Orgasmik Intelligence. Our focus today, as I said, is wellness, and this is in commemoration for Love Safely Week, which was commemorated last week, February 14th. And the theme for this podcast is loving our womb space, womb wisdom for holistic well-being. Yes. So as we delve into this session, first let's start at the beginning. How would you define the womb? And then we can go into really what is defined as womb wellness.
Oh, well, thank you so very much, first and foremost, for having me here, and UWIHARP being a part of your SHAZ. I actually love all of your acronyms, by the way.
Yes, really kudos to Money Spring, and she does a really excellent job at that.
Yeah, so for me, in the work that I do, womb wellness focuses on more than just uterus. If you were to look in a dictionary, whether it's medical or just a normal Oxford dictionary, and you look for the definition of womb, you will see that it speaks specifically to the uterus, where the baby, there's gestation of the baby, and speak about the menstrual cycle and whatnot. But in my world, in the work that I do in the field, womb wellness is a more holistic approach. The womb is a more holistic, or more expansive, I should say, definition. So we look at, yes, the uterus, we look at the overall female reproductive system. They also include a little bit more. So we look at the pelvis area, we look at the thighs, we look at the abs as well. We look at the free flowing energy among these, because why do we include the thighs as well and the pelvis? Is because many women will have trigger points, like areas that they have some discomfort either by touch or by movement, and it will actually link back to something within that space, whether it's the pelvis or within the womb itself. So the expansive definition, but womb wellness, again, now is more holistic. We look at it from a physical, a mental, and a spiritual aspect as well. So it's not just one area or dealing specifically with only the womb, but targeting the womb, but also looking at other aspects of it as well.
Awesome. So when you go through these processes, how beneficial is it to the individual? Is it only that women go through, when I say women, cis women, do you do transgender as well? what does that look like? Take us through the steps of what womb wellness procedure would
Right.
look like.
Okay. Well, we work primarily with people who have uteruses, wombs, primarily.
Yes.
However, I have worked with women who have gone through a hysterectomy. And so
Yes.
the physical womb space is not present, or the physical uterus, I should say, or some aspect of the uterus isn't present, but they still have that space. That's why we look at it as a holistic approach. So those women who have gone through the hysterectomy, had a hysterectomy, the procedure, they may think, well, I no longer have a womb, and so does this apply to me? But yes, it very much does, because you still have that energetic space.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I've worked,
go
I
ahead.
was just, as far as our transgender, I've worked very minimally with transgender women, because not because I don't choose to, but because I've never actually I've had probably two I've worked with that I can recall. One I worked with extensively, and the other one was just more consultation and answering her questions and whatnot, but not actually to get to work with her. But
Okay.
yes, definitely transgender as well would be included, but their approach would be the perspective would be a little different.
Yes.
But the same way we work with men, and we speak about the womb space with women, but with men we speak about dude space. So it's the same, similar kind of work with its differences. So we
Yes.
can work with cis and transgender, and also women who have actually had their uteruses physically removed through hysterectomy.
Okay. Now that you've
Yeah.
mentioned hysterectomies, there are other complications that women can go through that can lead them to have to go through this process. Can you just give us a brief rundown of what that would include and what some of the techniques employed would look like to address these issues, whether it be termination, whether it be bad menstrual pain, whether it be rape, what would that look like?
Well, there are a number of things that it will depend, one, on the situation, and two, the individual. So let's say there is an individual who she's experienced a traumatic sexual experience. So let's say, for example, rape. I may have a client who is willing to go through the techniques from the get-go. So we will start with a consultation, and based on the consultation, then we will move forward into the techniques. And I will have this particular person who she is willing to move like that. And then I will have another client who is, it's a longer process to get her to some of the deep probing techniques. So for one, I may start with where we do simple, definitely talking. We also look at somatic psychology as well, where we look to identify the areas within her body where she may have stored the trauma. And then can then move to yoni breathing, which is another technique that helps to not only bring the focus of the woman to her womb space, but also to remove toxic energy, and also to help just help the energy within that space to move again, and identify trigger points. Also helps on a physical level with in strengthening, in a sense, and toning the pelvic floor muscles, and identifying the three layers of the pelvic floor muscles and the vaginal canal, which then help with being able to identify and manipulate these specific muscles for better control of your muscles. And then we have a client who you may actually need to do some internal work. So yoni massage, which is the actual vaginal massage, where there's penetration with, I honestly recommend that with some clients, we start with they doing it themselves first,
Mhm.
becoming comfortable, and we always, always, always respect the choices of our client.
Yes.
So you may have a client who is open to the yoni massage, but she is not open to using her fingers.
Mhm.
So then we would incorporate a crystal wand or a pelvic wand to help identify those trigger points. Or if she doesn't want the wand, because there's some women who still are very averse to penetration, then I will work externally until she comes to a area of a place of comfort. Then we
Yes.
can work internally. And then we
Okay.
have other tools like working with yoni eggs. We have vaginal steaming as well. But the most important thing is to work with at the pace of the client and what she's most comfortable with. And I found that when we do that, then over time, the comfort, the mind opens up and the level of comfortability also opens up. And then we can explore a little more, a little deeper with a little more immersive techniques.
Okay. So what I hear you saying is that any kind of disorder or complication as it relates to the womb, whether it be pregnancy, trauma, rape, hysterectomy, those techniques can be applied, but it's based on the individual and the readiness of the individual. So
Yes,
everybody,
definitely.
okay, awesome. So
Yeah,
you
definitely
did
not a
mention,
cookie cutter thing for everyone. No, it's not.
yes,
Yeah, definitely. It's all on an individual level.
for sure. And I'm sure that some will take longer than some, so they have to be committed to the process
Yeah,
of healing.
definitely. Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. I hear you say that they also have to be a part of that process. I know some people come to healing sessions and so on and think that the instructor or the person who's leading the session is going to do everything for them. But this um, technique of womb wellness needs to have the individual well immersed in order for the healing to take place. So I just want to make that
Yes,
very clear. That
definitely.
that
Because I'm
you
just a
cannot do it.
facilitator.
You just, yes, you're just there to
Yes,
facilitate. So
I facilitate, I guide, I'm there
mhm,
for support. But
yes,
from the offset, or very first meeting, make it very clear that the onus is on her to immerse into this healing process. I am not there as a crutch. I expect that in between our sessions, the homework that is given, they they do it, and
yes,
if not, they won't do any progress, see any progress. And honestly, if that's the case, then I graciously will ask them, well, when you're ready, then we could come back
you can
and
come
we can
back.
do this work again, because they have to take onus. They have to take onus of it. It'll be difficult. That's why I'm there to support, but they
Yes.
have to be the ones to take onus of it.
And that's all part
Definitely.
of
The
the
onus is on
holistic
them.
process, where they
Exactly. Yes.
themselves go
Yes.
through
Finding that
this.
power within. Because,
Yes.
we as women are, we always give away our power. Society is always looking to take our power, but
Mhm.
within holistic womb wellness is about women regaining that
Reclaiming that.
power,
Yes.
reclaiming it, accepting it, cultivating it, and then owning it, living it.
Yes. That sounds really good. Take us through that. How do you go through that? So they come in for their consultation, they share what they need to share and so on. But then when they get to that part of really cultivating it, what are some of the ways that they can move forward? What do they do? Is it just them being able to do the techniques on their own, or being able to, I don't know, what are the steps like?
Yeah. Well, the first thing is acknowledging
Yes.
the womb space,
Mhm.
acknowledging the power of the womb space, knowing that all life comes through the womb space. So even if a woman chooses not to procreate, or she's had a hysterectomy, or there's been some trauma that has, or medical condition that has prevented her from procreating, bringing actual life, understanding still that that is the space where she creates.
Yes.
They may not be a physical being, but it is where she births her ideas, her projects. It's there that the gestation
That's
happens.
good.
That's where the creative energy is circulating and whatnot. So understanding that that is her power space, or I
Yes.
could say one of her power spaces. So
Okay.
acknowledging that first, and then bringing your focus there. So unfortunately, in society, a lot of women are walking around and we're cut off from our waist down. To pay attention to our womb spaces. If God forbid, there's a issue going on, like a medical issue, some kind of illness, or in some cases when they're having sexual intercourse, and in many cases, some women don't even acknowledge. They're just like, you know, just do what you have to do and get off of me.
Mhm.
If they're washing their vulva, but spending time daily to just bring your attention here. So it's just sitting quietly and bringing your attention, same way you bring your attention to somewhere that is hurting, or a different body part that needs, your wrist is hurting, so you need to massage it. You bring your attention to your womb space to start by bringing your mind there. And
Mhm.
then you can start with touch, and I'm just speaking externally, not even
Yes.
internally as yet. So just holding your hands, your palms of your hands on your womb space, so just above yours, under your navel, and
Yeah.
just staying there, feeling the warmth of your hand, and just being present and immersing, in a sense, into that shining darkness, because we know the womb space, it is pitch black. And some people are afraid of the fact that when you hear about darkness, that's why I refer to it as a shining darkness, because it's shining within its own
Yeah.
energy, and the life that comes forth from there, the creativity and the things that are birthed from it as well. It's very much present. So just bringing that attention there. So I would take them through a period of, I call it being time, where they
Mhm.
just be and bring their attention there. Starting with small, so we start probably with 3 or 5 minutes, and then we'll gradually increase the time. And from there, then understanding, cultivating it. This is doing it on a daily basis,
Okay.
increasing the time.
Mhm.
Understanding that is not only when we come for the visits, that you also will be doing it on your own.
Mhm.
Understanding that it is okay if whatever you feel, whatever messages you receive, it's good to write those down,
Yeah.
recording, so journaling. So after you
Yeah.
come out of that, I call it womb meditation in a sense, then you go and you do some journaling.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it's first understanding that being is what helps to cultivate the feminine essence.
Yes.
And from there, then we move forward, because our society is so, the masculine energy is what is pushed, is what we're socialized to do. So
Mhm.
so we as women, we are always going, going,
Going,
going. We're
going.
serving
Yeah.
our partners, our workspaces, the church organizations, the children and whatnot. And
And not forget
when we have
himself.
time for ourselves, exactly, guess
Yes.
what? How many of us, when we sit down or we lie down, as we hit the bed, out to sleep? Because you're so tired. You're so
Yes.
tired. But taking time to just be helps to cultivate the feminine energy, and by extension, the room space as well. So that's generally where we start with every
Oh,
single client.
very, very powerful. Yes. Owning, acknowledging, and then reclaiming that power that is ours. I love it. Awesome. So, is there, we went through the techniques and so on, plans. Is there any other information of wellness that you think is critical for this process?
Yes, definitely. You need to also look at, I'm not a nutritionist, but I work with other practitioners who I'm able to refer. So you may have, let's say, for example, a client comes in, she has chronic, or I would say yeast infection, and
Mhm.
I'm working through, the basics. I would recommend that, she cuts down on her sugar intake, she increases her water, she gets good probiotics, and whatnot. But then if we find that it still continues, then most likely she has a case of chronic yeast
Yes.
infection, and then I would refer her to a naturopath that I work with or a nutritionist that I work with, someone like that, who then would take her now on the nutritional journey aspect of it while still working with the womb work with me. So
Okay.
that's one thing, yeah. And
Mhm.
then of course if it's something like a venereal disease or of STI, I should say, then obviously you refer them to a medical doctor, gynecologist in cases like that. So as I say, it's a holistic approach.
Yes,
Yes,
most
what I
definitely.
do, we look at mental health
Mental.
and health
Mhm.
too, but I take them so far. But then if it's outside of my scope, then I recommend them to someone who specializes in mental health. So you know, the womb wellness, just like we have the entire space of wellness,
Yes.
I am one area within that. And
An
then
aspect,
very
yes.
happy to work, yes, with all the others as well, because I'm not here to say that this is the end all and be all of the work that needs to be done.
For
Because
sure.
our women have gone through so much, so having that approach from different angles when needed,
Mhm.
definitely I would recommend it. Yeah.
Awesome. Because my next question was how does nutrition play a role in wellness? But you already addressed that.
Yeah.
And we do see that it all comes full circle. You know, you need to have that mental, that social, that physical well-being in order for everything to really function and flow well. And even as we really think about our theme for today, loving our womb space, you know, we really want females and those girls to really take note, you know, that we do have the power within us to do all that we need to do. We just need to, as Katrina said, acknowledge it and cultivate it in the right way. And if you need that help, Ms. Katrina Ifill of Orgasmic Intelligence is here to assist you in that process. Katrina, from what age can a person go through these techniques? What age do you take ladies from?
Well, I worked with my daughter from a very young age,
Mhm.
but I've had clients, the youngest client I've had was 13 years old, and obviously she was accompanied by her mother.
Yes.
Well, her mother's the one who actually contacted me. But I would from the time, definitely from the time the young woman has her first period.
Mhm.
But I am an advocate of getting, educating them to the point even before then. So, so the same way when you have some young girls who start their period at whatever age, and they're totally surprised. They're like, blood is coming from me, and they're like, I don't know what to
Yes.
do, and they're
And
like
to mention the
probably
pain, not
tuned
only
in.
seeing it, but going through that agony
That
of the pain
discomfort,
for some. Yes.
exactly, and which is very common but not normal. So
Yes.
understanding that as well too. So it's the same thing. So womb wellness education of awareness of is very important for a girl from the time she understands how to comprehend a simple conversation. So
Yes.
understanding not only the womb but that body, that autonomy, understanding
Mhm.
that you have the power to say no, set boundaries for yourself.
Yes.
That's
Mhm.
all part of womb wellness as well, because
Mhm.
we have so many, not only young girls but grown women as well too, who fall victim to their sexual urges, and not because, again, not having that awareness of their womb
Mhm.
power,
Yeah.
or I should say focusing more on one aspect of their womb power and knowing that the pleasure it brings to not only themselves but to someone else as well, or
Yeah.
the things that if they give that aspect of themselves, the things that they can receive.
Mhm.
That's one aspect of womb power, but then also knowing how to abstain, also knowing how to consciously choose sexual partners. That's now on taking it on other levels. So I think this is something that from a very young age, an adult who is trustworthy, who knows what he or she is speaking about, preferably she is speaking about. Yeah, as young, if you speak to these young girls, I take young girls from the time they have their first period. That's when I
Okay.
take them as a client. But I also do workshops with young girls and boys as well, but specifically we're talking about young girls. It's called Seeds of Self-Respect, where I take them through understanding womb wellness and
Mhm.
body autonomy, sexual sovereignty, and stuff like that. So it can start, yeah, from a very young age. I generally start from um, the workshops I've done, they're from class 2 and up. So like roughly around 9 years old, 9 years old and up.
No, awesome. That's very encouraging to know, because once you get that seed planted from very young, it should grow with them. And we don't have many of the challenges we encounter as adults.
Yes,
So
and that's something I always say at all my workshops and whatnot. I always say I'm just here to plant seeds. So in today, in this podcast, I'm just planting seeds. So if
yes,
you are focused enough and mature enough and dedicated enough, you'll find those seeds and nurture those seeds, and you'll be able to then cultivate from inside out.
awesome. Awesome. So, guys, yes, you can make contact with Katrina Ifill. She is the founder of Orgasmic Intelligence. That information will be shared with you at the end. So, if you do need to make contact with her, feel free to do so, or you can contact UWIHARP at any of our social media spaces, and we will be sure to send you that contact information. Okay, Katrina, you made some reference also to some tools that you use. I know you don't have them with you, but you can just share a bit of information about them. And you do the yoni steaming, the yoni eggs, the wand, what some of them represent. Just give us a brief overview of them. Yes.
Okay, sure. So the yoni egg, it's shaped like an egg and is about this size. So I work with medium-sized eggs. Out there in the world, in the marketing space, you'll see small, large, and medium. But I only work with medium-sized eggs for the mere fact that because you insert the egg into the vaginal canal and you need to, for maximum benefits and results, you need to manipulate the egg. So right, let me start from the beginning. When you insert the egg into the vaginal canal, you do a
Yes.
combination of exercises, which I like to call Kegel body movement exercises,
Mhm.
which help to bring about vaginal toning, helps with agility as well, helps with women who suffer from fibroids, endometriosis, PCOS, heavy bleeding and cramping. It helps with overall vaginal health, so vaginal dryness, cyst healing from ovarian cysts as well.
Mhm.
Helps increase the orgasmic potential, working with yoni eggs. So going back to the why I use the medium-sized eggs
Medium
only
size. Mhm.
because when you insert the egg, you want to ideally manipulate it. So doing the Kegel body movement exercises. And that when you insert the egg carries some weight to it. So I don't recommend you start with large eggs because you don't want to bring the pelvic floor muscles into a state of shock because you've just added this sudden
Yes.
huge weight and walking around. And likewise with the small egg, they're so small you have to actually like squeeze your vaginal muscles and pelvic floor muscles so tight to manipulate the egg. It can actually cause your pelvic floor muscles and your vaginal muscles to go to what we call hyper hypotonicity. So meaning that
Okay.
they are too tight. So anytime your pelvic floor muscles are too tight, that becomes a pelvic dysfunction.
Oh, yes.
Right. So that's why we don't recommend if you want to start with the medium and over time get a drilled yoni egg, which carries a hole, which allows you to string it with
Mhm.
non-flavor, non-wax floss. Then you can add lightweight and gradually increase in weight. Many women would say, I would hear this argument, like, we can start with large yoni eggs because, women, we carry babies. I was like, yes, but When that, from the
process.
time of exactly inception, it starts at
It
the dawn, and
grows.
9 months, it can reach anywhere from 5 to 9, in some cases 14 pounds.
Yes.
Yeah, but that's a gradual
So it gives
process.
your body time to acclimatize
So
to the way.
exactly, and adjust accordingly. But when you use a large egg, you put it in and you start to walk around, you're putting this heavy weight, the strain on your pelvic floor muscles, undue strain actually,
Yes.
and that can cause pelvic dysfunction. So yoni eggs, that's one of the techniques of the yoni eggs. Not only helps to the benefits that I mentioned, but also when you're manipulating the yoni egg within the vaginal canal, you're also touching and manipulating the reflexology points within the vaginal canal. So you're manipulating like the bigger organs, like your lungs, your heart, and so on, your spleen, your liver, within the flexology points. So same we have flexology points on our face, the palms of our hands, bottom of our feet, our tongue, we have within our vaginal canal as well too. So that's one of the benefits, or some of the benefits of using the yoni egg. And the yoni egg acts like an anchor as well too, because you're aware that it's there. So it helps to bring your attention to the womb space as well. Yeah. So the other things that techniques, tools I work with is the wands. They can be made of crystal, and they're also pelvic wands, which are made from high-grade silicone. Some women, however, are allergic to even when it's medical silicone. So that's why I work with glass or crystal.
Okay.
I've never had an issue with client having any allergic reaction to especially the glass nor crystal. But I've had clients had allergic reaction to the silicone. But the crystal one now, it's like a wand. So it has some length. There's some that come curved. And the curved ones will actually allow, when you insert it into the vaginal canal, to actually press against the walls of the vaginal canal, which then also press against going to the pelvic floor muscles to help identify trigger points. And then a trigger point is something that causes a discomfort, causes you to flinch, or it's like, you feel like this numb pain. And you can then use the pelvic wand to massage the area when you have the trigger point, to gently massage over time, just the same way you massage if you hit your hand, you tend to rub it once you get a bump. It's the same thing. Massaging
helps to bring back that level of confidence and comfort to the individual.
Yes, definitely. Over time, yes. And it also helps her as well if she's doing that, also exploring herself, because in working with the wand, she can then find erogenous spots that she wasn't aware of. Yeah, so we always hear about the G spot and stuff like that, but there's so many other spots. So as I always say, you can find all the letters of the alphabet, pretty much A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right down to Z, if you just explore. Right? So it can use as a tool to explore as well, to help increase orgasmic potential. And but then we have women who don't want anything inserted into their vaginal canal, and sometimes not even a penis. And that's where yoni steaming will come into play. And that's actually why I decided to seek training in that therapy, because I recognized that there were women who didn't want to use the yoni eggs because they didn't want to insert anything. They didn't want to use a wand, and they didn't want to do that work. So then, although with the yoni steaming, it helps with a lot of the benefits, same as with the yoni egg, the wand or whatnot, it doesn't help with like targeting trigger points within the vaginal canal, within the pelvis. So then what we do is take the client through a process and hoping to build them up to the point where we can also do some internal work, which is deeper work, which then get to probably some other deep-rooted pelvic issues. So we have another, those are the tools that we generally work with. And
Yes.
as I mentioned, the other techniques are the body movement, understanding the movement. So simply here in Barbados, we love to walk up. Walking up is an excellent womb dance, is an excellent womb exercise. Walking up the womb space, it helps with the toning of the pelvic floor muscles. It helps to
Mhm.
keep the muscles and the hips, the pelvis, the bony structures and whatnot supple and keep them moving. So just think about it I know like when I was younger, my walk up abilities back then was on a different level than what I have now, right? That's for sure. Um, so as that is because before I started to do this womb wellness work, I went through a period of time where, walking it was kind of like frowned on. So I would walk up more in my private spaces, but I wasn't walking up at fetes and parties and in public. But then when
Mhm.
I, started to get back into my womb wellness work and I started to walk up, public, wherever, I realized, well, wait, I can't walk up as good as I used to because I went through a period of non-walking up.
Yes. Not
Yeah, so it's just simply if you don't use it, you're gonna lose it.
lose
The
it.
same with
Yes.
the exercising, the muscles, atrophy the stepping if you don't keep doing your exercises, you don't keep toning. Same thing. So yeah, just
You have
stand up
to,
and
yes,
walk
keep
up.
working at it.
Stand up a whine if you want to call it word whine. But in Barbados you call it walking up. So
Yes.
just that is a very good exercise for the womb space, the pelvic floor muscles, for the pelvis area, the waistline as well too. So it's a very
Mhm.
good, and that circular movement. That's a very
Yes.
feminine movement as well. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. So, as we look to close, I think we've covered the critical points. We've spoken about what the womb is, what is womb space, what is womb wellness, who can go through these processes, what techniques are used. We made the point to say that, it is a holistic process, and the individual must be committed to the process and be in the process as well in order to get the full benefits of it. So as we look to close, I just want you to give some encouraging words to some ladies out there as we commemorate Love Safely, to just encourage them and to empower them in this space of letting them know that they do have the power within, and if they need to get some assistance in these areas, whether it be from if they're going through health issues, they're going through mental issues, emotional issues, that they can go through these processes and receive their wellness, and they do have the power within. So I'm just going to have you give some parting words of encouragement. As we do want to encourage young ladies to really love who they are, to really love, themselves holistically, and to know that they can do it with help, and it doesn't just happen. It is a process. It is a process. It takes time, and the help is here. Yeah.
Well, Kelia, I always, whenever I do a workshop, a podcast, an interview, I always like to leave with a simple technique that
Mhm.
every woman can do. Even if you have some brothers that tune in as well, they they can do. And I want to
Yes.
start with that one. And this one is the heart womb connection. There's
Mhm.
a natural energy that runs between the heart and the womb space. If we have brothers on listening, call it the dual space. So
Yes.
that there's a natural energy that runs between the two. And connecting the two helps you to make more conscious decisions. Remember earlier I spoke about we tend to fall victim to our sexual urges. So then
Mhm.
we have a whole, line of regret, a whole set of regret, I should say, because of, partners and, I was here, oh my gosh, I gave it up too quickly, or
Mhm.
we should have never had sexual intercourse, or, I should have never gotten involved and stuff like that. But it helps you to make more conscious decisions so you will no longer have any regrets. Meaning
Yes.
that is although you may make a conscious decision to enter a sexual relationship with someone, doesn't necessarily mean that the relationship may last forever and you all will ride off into the sunset. But it means that because you made a conscious decision, if the relationship does not work, you're very present in this space because you know, well, I went into this knowing full well that I am making a full decision, not a half whack. I don't want to say the other word, a half whack decision on going into it. All right. So you would have made a conscious decision. So simply placing your left hand on your heart and right hand on your womb space. And you take a deep breath in. And when you breathe in, you visualize energy running from your womb space or your dude space up to your heart. And that energy can look like a butterfly, a ball of light, water, whatever you want to. You choose whatever you want to visualize it as. Visualize it running from your womb space or your dude space up to your heart. And when you exhale the breath, visualize that energy running from your heart back down to your womb space. You would close your eyes and you would do that 3 times, 6, 9, 12, however many times you want to do. Do it like twice a day, 3 times a day. Excellent first thing in the morning if you have a quiet space during the day, and last thing at night before you go to bed. And you will see how that you will notice. Let's say when you meet someone that you are attracted to, and this person, your heart is fluttering, you feel all nice, like, I'm in love, and you have that first intimate moment with that person, but your vulva, you're not getting aroused. She's not becoming engorged or anything like that. And unfortunately, what many, very sorry to say, men will do is try to shame the woman and say that, she's dry and stuff like that. And then, she trying to prove that she's not dry will consent, will decide to have sexual intercourse, because during sexual intercourse, generally that's when, the juices will flow and she become more lubricated to prove that she's not. But really and truly, what happened is that she got a yes from her heart, but she got a no from her heart. Exactly. So she didn't have that full permission from her body. But in another case now, she might get wet, like in one from just the voice of this person. But then she feels this heaviness in her heart. That means you're getting a no from your womb space and a yes from your womb. A no from your heart and a yes from your womb space.
Yes.
So again, not in alignment. So when you get a yes and a yes, that means you have full permission to move forward. Okay, so then you've made a conscious decision moving forward. And this is such a simple but profound technique that I've worked with, not only for myself, but with my clients as well. And they found good results with it. So that's the simple thing. Just understand that you have the power. You have the power to set your boundaries and uphold those boundaries. The power is within you and not anyone else. So taking your time to cultivate that feminine energy is where your power really lies. And take your time to cultivate your energy, your feminine energy, every single day. Because believe you me, men, although the masculine energy is their drive, they know how to cultivate their feminine within. Even though they may not say it, it's just like they find time for themselves. So find time for yourself where you can actively love yourself and actively cultivate the feminine divine within.
Thank you so much, Katrina. As always, it's very empowering to have you share your wealth of knowledge with us here at UWIHARP. And we thank you yet again for sharing and on this platform with us. I do want to thank all our viewers that will view whether on Instagram, on YouTube, or on Facebook. And if you have any questions at all, please feel free to email us. You can message Katrina on her pages. But please, I do want to implore you and encourage you that if you do need help in these areas, you can reach out to us. And if we do not have the tools to do so, we can definitely refer you to those persons who are qualified in those areas to assist you. So thank you yet again, Katrina. And thank you again for viewing the UWIHARP SHAZ podcast. And we look forward to sharing more information with you. Thank you.